Good evening. I'd like to call to order regular meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education. Anyone who's able to stand, I would ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mr. Wolford. Will you please take a roll call?
Mr. Bogosian?
Present.
Mrs. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Conti?
Present.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Mazzone?
Here.
Dr. Racine?
Here.
Mr. Sprayberry? Dr. Eladi? You have a quorum.
Thank you. So good evening. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date and time and place posted on the bulletin board outside the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available here in the meeting room, and the agenda has been posted electronically on the Friday before the meeting date on the district's website. Subsequent to this meeting, a video of the meeting will be uploaded to the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org, and the video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link, clicking on Public Meetings, and then Videos. I'd like to start this evening by approving the minutes of our regular meeting of September 9th. Before I do that, anyone have any comments or edits? Okay, not having any, I'd like to ask those be entered. At this point in time, I'd like to open the meeting up to Sarah, our student representative.
Hi, good evening. So first, on behalf of all the students, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Hurley on being named the Regional Superintendent of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So the school year is going really well so far. Everyone's adjusting really well, and there's events being planned, a lot more going on, so that's exciting. A lot of the clubs have started planning their first activities of the year. Back to school night went very well. We had a lot of student council volunteers that were helping direct parents, answer their questions, and sell items in the school store. A couple weeks ago, the textiles class and the FCCLA club took a trip to the kindergarten center. We taught the younger students about worrying and how to manage their worries. We read a story called The Very Hungry Worry Monsters, and then the kids designed their own monsters, which the textiles class are now turning into stuffed animals for them. A lot of RHS students showed interest in being poll workers for the upcoming election. It had to be limited to only about 25 seniors since there were so many people signed up, but they completed the training last week, so they will be helping out the community on election day. The fall sports are in full swing. Girls soccer is doing really well, and it was a tough loss for the football team on Friday night against Glen Rock. Very close game, but they will be back this weekend for our homecoming game. So speaking of homecoming, the dance is this Friday night. There's a lot of excitement. There was a line outside of Miss Leonard's room every day last week to buy tickets, and we ended up selling about 500. The homecoming parade and game will be this Saturday. The parade starts at 2 o'clock and the game is at 3. The event is always really fun. It's very well attended and it's always full of school spirit. The SATs will also be hosted on Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. And the PSATs for all sophomores and juniors will be Wednesday, October 9th. There's also a financial aid night for high school students and parents on October 10th. And that's all for tonight, but moving forward, I definitely want to try to find information on all the other schools in the district to share in my report as well, if that's okay with everyone.
Great job.
That would be great.
Thank you.
I would echo Mrs. Jones's comment, tremendous report. Really think it was informative, really impressed with our students as well, volunteering to be poll workers. I think really important cause, so that's great. Any other board members have any other comments?
I'd like to just, if I can, first on the poll workers, just so people understand that, I think that's a new policy, regulation, I'm not sure what it is that the county and the state has put in to try to get more involvement, first of young people involved in civics and the election and democracy, and also to try to, increase the numbers of poll workers that we have. Ms. Jones has been a poll worker for a long time, and she can tell you.
40 years.
Over 40 years, right.
My back can't hold up anymore.
Right, that's why she needs help, right, she needs help. So I think it's really great that we had such a turnout. When I received an email from the county Board of Elections in the summer, and I sent it over to Mr. Morano, I was somewhat skeptical, like, would we get kids to want to do it? And the fact that we had more students sign up than they even can take is, and also Dr. Lacey, who's one of our social studies teachers, had taken on the responsibility, let's say, to kind of coordinate it and manage it, so I thank him for that as well. Your comment at the end, I think is a great comment. I often, sit here now, last 11 years and hear the reports, and when I was principal, I'd go over the reports with students, and yeah, you're the high school representative, but you're the student rep, and I think when we get some information from the other schools, that's going to be great. It's in line with our profile of the graduate that we're talking about, right? This consistency. So, you know what, you and I could talk. I'll come over. My mic keeps going. After all these years, you finally figured out. Okay, turn my mic off, right, Mr. Mayor? We could talk about how to maybe get some information to you, which would be great. Okay, so I appreciate that.
Great, thank you. So, Sarah, fabulous report. This is the opportunity in the meeting where you're more than welcome to stay, or if you have homework or other things you need to attend to, you're more than welcome to also head out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
They never stay. So I'd like to move on to the report of the superintendent.
Okay. Thank you. Before I get to the REF grants, homecoming, if board members are, I don't know. They're trying to tell me something. Maybe this is a sign if I want to leave, I can leave. Is that? Yeah, but then you're going to need it too, right? Is this better?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah, it's working now.
Here we
It's
go.
working now. See, you have to hit it. Yeah? I didn't say that. Delete that from the video. If board members are interested in participating in the parade part, I mentioned to be here about like 1:45, right? And we could do that. If you're just going to go to the game is at 3 o'clock kickoff. It's a little later this year because of the SATs. I want to, back in June, the board accepted grants from the REF and the Casadante family. I thank Mrs. Casadante for being here tonight, and again for her continued support of the REF and our faculty and our students, mostly our students. So thank you. We could clap. Yeah. And this year, the board graciously accepted a grant of $73,676.98. I don't know which one of you put in something for 98 cents out there. I'm not sure. And 69,000 and change, 69,041, came from the REF. And $4,635 from the Casadante Foundation. So thank you. There are numerous grants, and we want to recognize them all. We have a certificate for the teachers who put the grants in. And the process, again, I know most of you are aware of it. Teachers throughout the district can submit an idea to through their building administration and then to the REF for consideration for things that often supplement programs that we have that maybe go beyond what we can put into the budget, or things just a little bit extra. And there's some of them are big ticket items, some of them are small ticket items, and then the REF reviews them and awards grants each and every year. So I'm going to call your name. I'm going to briefly say what the grant is. Mr. Maison is going to present you with the certificate. If you're not here, obviously, for those of you not here, hope you're listening, you don't come up, and then Mr. Maison can stay in. So come up slowly if you're called, so he knows that you were one of the people not here. From the Kindergarten Center, Erica Farrell for building motor competency through play. From Lincoln School, we had the following grants. Jen Odo for all hands on deck, collaborative work on classroom workspaces. Janine Smith from alternate communication devices for nonverbal students. Bonnie DeBowder for becoming a secret phonics agent. And Cassandra Bodoff for iPad devices for Lincoln Learning Center classrooms. Liz Freitag, modernizing classroom with furniture updates, and Lori Catalano, One School, One Book. So Lincoln, we'll get all those over to Lincoln School. Okay, so it's just, you bring them back to me when time comes. We have a big Pierpont contingent here, as I say, right? Okay, so from Pierpont, a lot of grants from Pierpont as well. Rebecca Macri, broadcast journalism iPads. Joan Macri and Tara Ingalls for a coloring club. Louis Cuomo for Fantasy for All. Sean Bach for the Green Team. Joan Macri and Erin Fallon for improving facts with extra math. Pursue Demir Berlaki for iPads for scribing. Aaliyah Jordan for keyboards and headphones for the music program. Caitlin Jeffers for PBSIS, and Dana Roman for PBSIS incentive program. Tara Philp for Pierpont's March Madness, brain games, and social emotional learning event. Brianne DeStacy for some outdoor basketball hoops at Pierpont. Gianna Lampert and Caitlin Jeffers for Sphero Bolt for their technology program. From the high school, Carmen Spina for a batting machine, Danielle Moore for a chemistry club initiative, Melissa Dugard for publishing children's books through illustration kits, Michael Stracco, Read Across America, Andrew Santiago, 2 grants for Girls Who Code and Tech and Design Studio Workshops, Stephanie Bauman, Textiles Room Update Part 2, which is a very large grant that the REF has given us in 2 stages to redo our textiles, which for those of you who aren't familiar with is sewing, used to call it sewing, now it's textiles, because you do a lot more than just sewing. Steve Dunn, weight room replacement and upgrades, and Daniel Moore for women in STEM. Okay. From Union School, Bill Helfingstein for Build Your Own Drone. Also Bill Helfingstein for Minecraft license grant and a scope, telescope project. Kurt Schweitzer, Making Math Visual. Colleen Fensick and Albert Buchholz for Peer Deck for interactive presentations. And Colleen, welcome back to a board meeting.
Yeah.
You can get her back.
Yeah. Does this mean you're running again, or for president? Brianne Bilbao for reinvigorating union drama tech. Tricia Lala for vocal unity, bringing, a very long title, bringing union middle school voices to the Rutherford community and beyond. And Morgan Deming for Fine Motor Fun at Washington School. She's our preschool teacher. So again, I want to really thank for the teachers for putting in the time and energy to develop the grants and then for implementing them. The REF and the Casananti family for their partnership. I think we have an REF person here, right? We have a representative from the REF. And I'm sorry, remind me, my,
Vice President of REF this year.
Right.
Very proud of all of you. I encourage you all to think about what projects you're going to apply for next, and we will be eagerly fundraising.
okay, thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen Blasey. And again, thank you all for your support. Yeah, can we do that? Can we get a group picture? You want to do that? Come on up. Get the award winners in the back. And we'll take, you want them up here? Oh, you want the board members? Come on up here. We'll do it.
We'll do it with the board members?
And this is also going to be your segue to leave after this picture. You won't have to. Well, we can sit and they can stand. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, you all want to come up, stand behind where the board is? Is that,
Can we fit?
think we can fit?
And then some board members come around the outside, right?
You need all of us, aren't you? Just sit up here.
Come on up.
Decisions have been made.
No. You have to, you're REF, you have to be in that picture.
I got it.
I think we can employ Mr. Matt.
You're up front.
Oh, Mr. Meck can take, Mr. Meck, can you take the picture? So then Mr. Whitford could be in the picture?
Matt will take it. Here, you sit here.
Come on in. Are we standing? We're all standing?
I feel like,
I think if we sit, we might, I think if we sit, we'll give that better, right? Right?
all right. So,
Please edit this out of the movie.
on three. 1, 2, 3.
All right, we got like 7 in there.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay, and then, you want me to continue? Okay, so briefly then, the rest of my report was, I do want to mention that we are, that I met with Ms. Coy and Mr. Ryan this week, and then following up with the administrators on developing, we hope, a very strong Parent Academy program this year. And we're focusing a couple of live, when I say live, in-person presentations on our new math program, a new phonics program we're looking to develop, and then 2 aspects that came out of that Anxious Generation book on cell phone use and on free play. So more information will be coming out about that. I already mentioned homecoming. October 14th, Professional Development Day. It's a day off for students. Faculty will be here working on a number of activities throughout the district. It's a rather ambitious and well-developed schedule and a number of initiatives we're undertaking. And with the number of initiatives we are undertaking with Atlas curriculum program coming in, the new math program, developing a new phonics program, looking to examine a new science program. There's a lot of things happening. We are going to, if you remember last year, we revised the calendar to put 3 one-session days in for more professional development. This year, we're going to ask the board at our next meeting to revise the calendar to add 1 additional day, a one-session day on March 3rd. And that would be a 1 session for students and professional development for faculty and staff. So if we do that and the board agrees to revise the calendar at the October 21st meeting, that would give us ample time to let parents know about the additional 1 session day on March 3rd. And then at the next meeting, also on October 21st, we will be doing a Board of Ed Scholastic Awards. Again, I'll remind you of all of this when I send out the agenda, but we'll meet in the auditorium, do the awards, then come down here for a regular meeting. And that would also be the night that statutorily I need to present the report on student achievement. So that will be a little longer meeting with, but a lot of good stuff, the awards and the report on student achievement. So that's it for my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from board members? Okay, then I'll move into the report of the president. Dr. Alati sends his regrets for not being able to join us here this evening. Just a couple matters of business. So again, the 21st is the BOE Scholastic Award. So just to make sure you put that on your calendar, that'll be a regular board meeting, but a great event that we all look forward to. I know most of you have probably already gotten on the sign-up list for homecoming, but again, that's going to be a meetup here on Saturday the 5th at 1:45 here at RHS for the parade, and then the game is at 3 p.m. So hopefully everyone can make it. Looks like a great showing so far. I'd like to echo the comments of our student representative acknowledging our superintendent, Jack Hurley, for being acknowledged with the Regional Superintendent Award. We are truly honored to have you with us, Jack, and leading our district. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
and last but not least, the REF, I just would be remiss for not acknowledging them, all those great grants that have been awarded. I know they're greatly appreciated by our district, our teachers, as well as our students. So we couldn't do it without their support. Comments or questions from board members? Sir?
I do want to say, I might as well say it. I never like to talk about these rankings, but I mean, I do today. I sent you the email, Niche, I think I'm saying it correctly, that does the rankings that a lot of people use throughout the state and the county when they're looking to come into a community. We always did very well, but Bergen County, which is noted for some really outstanding high schools and districts, we came out 5th in the county, which is remarkably high for a school of our size and in our area, and 22nd in the state out of about 600 school districts. So that's a credit to the board, it's a credit to the community, credit to the faculty and staff, the students, that we rated that high. So again, these rankings are things that change with the wind sometimes, but it is nice to see that the good work we're all doing is getting recognized.
Agreed. So moving along, I'd like to open the meeting up to the public for any agenda item. So at 7:22 p.m., I'd like again to open the meeting up to any member of the public who'd like to speak regarding an item on the agenda. Okay, having no one step forward, at 7:22, I'll close the meeting to the public. And I'd like to move on to our regular meeting to new business where action will be taken. I'd like to start with personnel. Mrs. Cole?
Good evening. Personnel did not meet this month, and there are 16 motions to be put forward tonight at the recommendation of the superintendent. Number 1 is to accept the resignation of a social studies teacher at the high school. Number 2, to rescind a lunch monitor at the K Center. Number 3, to approve a long-term substitute elementary teacher at Pierpont School. Number 4, to approve a leave replacement teacher assistant at the high school. Number 5, to approve an adjustment in the approved hours for a part-time teacher assistant at the K Center. Number 6 is to approve middle school co-curricular assignment. Number 7, to approve an increase in an hourly rate for Bulldog Care Program lead counselor. Number 8, to approve the following for the Bulldog Care Program counselors as listed. Number 9, to approve the following as helping hands at the Bulldog Care Program for the district as listed. Number 10 is to approve disability leave with pay for employee 2061. Number 11, to approve the following internship clinical placements at Rutherford's public schools as listed. Number 12 is to approve the following substitute teachers as listed. Number 13, to approve the following substitute teacher assistants as listed. Number 14, to approve the following travel reimbursements as listed. And then also number 15, to approve a long-term substitute elementary teacher at Pierpont School. And number 16, to approve the following substitute teacher as listed.
Thank you. Mr. Hurley, any comments?
Just one on the travel reimbursements. You know, you'll see there's 2, 4, about 6 people going to Atlas Conference. That's the curriculum program that we're doing, and we got lucky that they run training all over the country, and we have one close by, so we were able to get folks. But I do want to mention that we have about 20, 30, maybe 30 teachers who volunteered, to be part of this committee that's doing a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of work to implement this, working with the supervisors on it, and and these folks, are representing that committee. So I'm very appreciative of the faculty for taking on this initiative and working to really make a major, significant change to how we manage our curriculum.
Agreed. Any board members, comments or questions? Okay, not hearing any. Mrs. Cole, you want to move those items?
I'd like to move motions 1, 2 through 16 under personnel.
Okay, need a motion and a second. Mr. Conti, Mr. Healy.
Mr. Bogosian?
Abstain on 11, yes on all others.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Moving on to curriculum instruction. Mrs. Jones, you want to take us through these items?
Thank you. We did not have a CNI meeting in the past month, and tonight there were 6 motions put forward on the recommendation of the superintendent. 1, nursing service plan. 2, out-of-district placements, which there are 2. Individual student service providers. 4, field trips, there are 49. Overnight trip, swimming team, SIAA wrestling possibility, and spring track, all of which, if they make it. And 6, home instruction for 2 students. And that's it.
Very good. Mr. Hurley, any comments?
As Mrs. Jones alluded to, the overnight trips are there in case there's qualification, because often as you board knows, overnight trips require board approval, and should a wrestling team, for example, qualify on a Thursday night and they have to go on a Saturday, we don't have time to do that, so we do it in advance in case it's needed. And they're the only 3 sports that have a state final so far away that would require overnight.
Very good. Any board members, comments or questions for Mrs. Jones? Not hearing any, can you please move those items?
I move resolutions 1 through 6 under curriculum instruction.
Okay, need a motion and a second. Okay, Mrs. Cole, Mr. Bogosian.
Mr. Bogosian?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Great. Moving ahead with finance, Mr. Bogosian.
We did not have a finance committee meeting since our last full board meeting. Tonight on the agenda, we have 5 motions. Number 1 is the routine approval of bills. Number 2 is the July treasurer's report. Number 3 is budget line transfers for the month of July. Number 4 is to accept with gratitude a donation of 2 basketball hoops for the kindergarten center from Megan Coy. And number 5 is to accept with gratitude a donation of various video and photo equipment from Michael Michelin for the high school's TV production photography classes.
Great, thank you. Mr. Hurley, any comments?
No.
Okay. Mr. Met, any comments?
No, Mr. Webb.
Thank you. I immediately thought of Mr. Met in light of the donation to that great class.
It's a big day for Mr. Met. They won.
Yes, that's true, they did. Any board members, comments or questions? Okay, not hearing any, can we please move those items?
I'd like to move motions 1 through 5 under finance.
And I need a motion and a second. Mr. Healy, Mrs. Cole.
Mr. Bogosian?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Moving ahead to policy, Mr. Healy.
Yes, we did not have a committee meeting since our last board meeting, and there are no motions for this meeting.
Thank you. Moving ahead then, buildings and grounds, Mr. Bogosian, if you would, please.
Yes, we have not had a Buildings and Grounds meeting since our last full board meeting, and tonight we have surprisingly nothing on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
Business?
Okay, I have some old business. I see, not that you're old business, but Dr. Moore, Daniel Moore, has just come in, right? You're here, right? She received an REF grant, and so we could have her pick it up right now if we could just abbreviate from.
Gotta make her take a
Deviate.
take her picture though.
She didn't get the picture, but there's two. I'm looking for the two that she had. So for a chemistry club, if you remember, and for, I think, women. No, yes, women in STEM, right? So here we go. I found them. So, you just wanted the thunderous applause just for you alone. And I guess under old business too, Mr. Whitford will be starting our audit, right, tomorrow. And also we're going to be meeting, Mr. Whitford and I, thanks Danielle, we'll be meeting with our architects tomorrow. And Mr. Gamboa, we had talked about some projects to close out the referendum and, other things we're going to meet tomorrow to try to solidify that a little bit and then come back hopefully within short order to the Buildings and Grounds Committee and then to the board with what we determined in our meeting. Okay? Yes?
Mrs. Jones.
Did I interrupt you? Are you finished? Okay, just under old business, the Senate Association was recognized in the paper with all that they have done to make the pool such a wonderful place to be now, and where our decisions have helped them along when we were a long way from not thinking we were going to have the pool anymore to have this as now a sustainable business. They should be congratulated.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that the high school choir sang at the 9/11. Mr. Hurley was there, Mr. Maison was there, Mr. Healy and myself were able to be there. But it was lovely. It's always a wonderful thing, but it's always moving and nice to have it. That's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones. Anyone else? Legislative update? Mrs. Jones?
I'm sorry?
Legislative update?
Oh, I always have one of those too, don't I?
It's been a habit.
Well, I try to find one. This is Senate Bill 3599, introduced September 19th. We're talking last week. And this requires, who did this? Christian M. Corrado, District 40, Bergen, Essex, and Passaic. Requires the Department of Education to establish program for coaches of school district and non-public school athletic activities to obtain certification in CPR. I thought they had to have that.
Me too.
Well,
Again, like I told you, there's a lot of times these bills get put forward, especially in an election year, because, they get a little press.
the only thing that may have been different is any cost of implementing the program established pursuant to subsection B of this section will be borne by the state. Now, did boards of ed have to pay for their?
We pay for it, yeah.
Well, we don't have to do that.
Well, again, we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Well, all right, that's the new part.
Right.
The new one.
Right.
Thank you.
There are two things that are brewing down in Trenton that may have some impact on us. One has to do with finance budget. You might have read today's record. A lot of the schools out in western Passaic County and Sussex County have gotten some really big hits in terms of state funding being cut. But there's been a lot of hits across the state, and one year you're getting a little bit of a bump, and the next year you're getting a 10 or 15% decrease. And so there's a lot of discussion, and I think Mr. Whitford probably could comment on this as well, to try to come up with some amendment to the funding formula and some change, so that there's a little more consistency, but also a little more, whether, and Matt, I don't know if you want to chime in on this, whether it's going to be a minimum and maximum that you could possibly go increased or decrease, so you can plan a little better, because we all know, right, if you're on the finance committee, we get to the 0 hour, right, where our budget has already been submitted or about to be submitted to the county for approval, and then we find out what our state aid is going to be. And, we've been fortunate that we've either stayed flat or we've had a modest increase. But, therefore, with the grace of God, they say, right? I mean, other districts get the rug pulled out from under them. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
There are a number of legislators that are working with the NJASA, which is the Superintendent Association, and NJASBO, which is the Business Administrators Association, to try to contain the extreme variables that are involved in the state budget or the state aid budget to school districts. So they've definitely been using the district's resources to try to create a new formula, rather than just only down in Trenton kind of blocking out the words from the school district. So again, the BA and the Superintendent Association have both been working with them, but it is still up in the air right now. The formula is fully funded, quote unquote, fully funded for this year. So we'll see what kind of new formula they want to propose in the next coming year.
And then the other, there's a task force that's been working, again, with representatives from NJEA and NJPSA and NJASA, and also from the legislature, to look at the teacher evaluation system. And that task force released their report today, I believe. It's a 150-page document, so I mean, I just gave a quick look to read into it. And that's just their recommendations on what they think should happen with the evaluation system, for lack of a better word. And included in there is things like whether student growth objectives should stay or should they be modified. How should we be measuring achievement of students and what impact that should have on the evaluation and assessment of teachers. Training on the evaluation system for both administrators and teachers. So we'll see where that goes. Well, there's been a lot of discussion about a need to make some changes. I think it was probably about 10 or 11 years ago, when, maybe more, give or take a couple of years, probably a little more, when they made a radical change to how the evaluation system was done. And we've all gotten kind of accustomed to it, and I think it works well, but there does come a time where you have to look at it again. So this task force was put together, their report's been presented, and now we see where it goes. Some of this is tied into legislation, and some of it's tied into State Board of Ed policy. So we'll keep you updated on both of those.
Just to reinforce that, last May at the New Jersey School Board Association Delegate Assembly, a number of districts were putting forth, petitions, motions to get the assembly to work on that.
The budget.
They were hurting, and they explained it.
Yeah, and when these things happen, we all felt it in 2010, I want to say, or maybe 11.
It was $1 million.
When, St. Patrick's Day, and, you're trying to enjoy your corned beef, and you heard that Governor Christie was making these massive cuts, and everybody had to scramble. Well, that happens now every year, but on a smaller scale, to a couple of districts, and it's at the 0 hour, so I mean, if there could be a little better system of equity and also notification when you're planning,
It seemed to be post-pandemic also a problem with some of the districts. They named the funding they had, and I don't know how in the mix, that.
Yeah, and you're right, and a lot of money that came from other sources, federal government, that gave people a lot of money that we didn't really ask for, right? And then told you specifically how it had to be spent, right? And then if you couldn't spend it, they said, well, now you have to spend it. We don't want it back. And, you had to develop programs. So, one of these things, like for example, grants, right? I mean, REF grants are great. They're helpful. They're wonderful. But, I always remind administrators when you do your budget, don't put a grant into something that is essential because you don't know if you're going to get it again. So 1 year you get a big, influx of money from state aid, and you say, wow, we could hire those teachers we wanted to hire, or we could start that program we wanted to start, right? And then the next year that state aid goes out the door. Now where are you? So, a little bit more consistency and predictability. That's the word that they're using a lot in this discussion. We want a little more predictability where we kind of know what's coming. And again, we've been very lucky. We don't get a lot of state aid. I mean, 97% of our budget is funded by the local taxpayers. I mean, we hear that every year, right? When we do, it's 96%, something like that. But we've been consistent in what we've been getting from the state, give or take a few dollars. But, like I said, it's only, every year it's fingernail biting time when you wait to see the figures getting released. So it'd be nice if they could work that out. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? Okay. Then not hearing any, I'd like to move on to open the meeting to the public for agenda items or anything else. The time is now 7:41 p.m., so open the meeting to the public. You're welcome, sir. Please step up. Please state your name and address, please.
Can I lower this? Deacon Raymond Shembry, 22 East Pierpont Avenue, Rutherford.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'd first like to acknowledge the board. I mean, I know how tight my time is, and to volunteer your time to do something like this is really appreciated. And I have looked at Niche recently. I'm like, wow, look at the Rutherford school system. You guys are doing a really good job. I've had some interaction with them, very professional. I see the grades are great, but really the reason I'm here tonight is extracurricular activities and homeschoolers. So my daughter's been going to Catholic schools for 10 years. And we just had a little snafu or whatever, and we switched to homeschooling. And found out that homeschoolers are not allowed to participate in the high school sports. And I'll read New Jersey Interscholastic Athletic Association, who guides all the sports in New Jersey. Eligibility of athletes. Students being homeschooled by parents or other parties may be eligible if the local Board of Election has approved their participation and the requirements, the homeschool guidelines have been satisfied. But I was told that the Rutherford Board of Education says a blanket no. And the reasons were because you guys maintain academic standards, which I would absolutely support, and behavioral standards. And because you can't monitor academic and behavioral standards of homeschoolers, they're not allowed to participate. And then there was also an insurance question. Like I said, my daughter's been going to Catholic schools for 10 years. She's a straight A student. Her academics, and we're also going into a homeschooling program that has some professional teachers. She goes in twice a week. They will be giving her grades. They're all New Jersey certified. So I don't see how the grades and the behavior would be a problem. And certainly once she gets on the team, you can monitor her behavior. And when a new person comes into a school, you don't say, oh, we don't know your grades and your behavior, so you can't participate. You get the assumption of the benefit of the doubt. And I would think with insurance, 700-800 students, to put another name or two on the list of the swim team, that's where I'm going, by the way. Maybe she'll get to use that really nice pool that we just heard about, getting so many honors. So I think the other thing would be funding. Now, since I moved here 15 years ago, I've been paying school taxes. It's now $8,000 a year. If I average all that out, that's about $100,000 I put into the school. And as you guys obviously know, with a budget, there's income and expenditures. By not sending my daughter to your schools for 11 years, I think your average cost of students is $20,000 to $25,000 a year. That's $250,000 in expenditures I've relieved from you. So, coming here and saying, hey, can you help me out a little? So I've never made a $20,000 to $25,000 contribution to any charity. I'm a deacon. I love to give to charity. I tithe. Never made a $25,000 contribution, certainly not 11 years in a row. So, I could come in here and say, hi, I'm Deacon Ray, and if you had known that, you'd be like, thank you, Deacon Ray, what can we do for you? Like, that's so nice that you've given so much money to all the other kids in the district. Well, my answer is, yes, there's something you can do for me. Please let my daughter swim on the Rutherford High School swim team. And then in addition, please reconsider the blanket rejection of all homeschoolers. It is encouraged by the National Federation of State High School. So the national level, they encourage homeschoolers to participate in sports. My daughter has been swimming on club teams. She knows 14 swimmers on the team. There's one girl, there's actually 3 girls that all live a block from her. So it makes no sense to me that she's on a club team, the same club team, we live in the same town, we pay the same taxes, but we're not even allowed to try out. We collect taxes from the borough for education because we know that it's best for our town, our society, our country, if all our children are educated. We collect Rutherford public funds to provide an education that's open to all children. But this blanket rejection means that athletics are not open to all children. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, wait a minute. So we're taking public education funds and we take some of those funds and put them into athletics that's essentially private.
Sir, I'm sorry. We
Yes.
try to limit comments to 3 minutes, and I apologize for cutting you off. If you could wrap up your comments, please.
Okay,
Thank
sorry,
you,
this
sir.
is gonna be
No,
hard.
no.
I suspect academics is not the real issue. I know that this has changed relatively recently. Homeschoolers were allowed to participate, from what I understand. I heard they took band classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think part of it really has to do with people on the board, maybe in the past, worried about, oh, my kid will get cut from the team if the homeschoolers come in. And so one of the things I'll bring up is you can have as many as 100 swimmers on a swim team and still probably not even cover every. Immaculate Heart Academy has 60 girls alone. Most of the really good teams have about 30 men, or boys and women. You guys have 45. So most of the good teams are running 60. In addition to your team would be a help. But really, when it comes to swimming, it comes down to numbers. It's not only how good they are, but how many swimmers do you have to cover the 12 events, 3 lanes, several heats. So, and then the other thing is swimming is really well defined. You run a race, the 2 kids that touch the wall first are your fastest 2 swimmers. So there's not a lot about cutting. Like a swim coach is gonna know after a couple of races what he's got. And he wouldn't be crazy enough to cut someone unless there are other problems, maybe budgeting or whatever, because you really want as many swimmers as you can. So look, I just want my daughter to swim on the team. I'll go to recommendations.
Sir, we're at 4 minutes, so just if you could kindly wrap up, please.
Okay, so get rid of the, if you can, get rid of the blanket and say, wait, do you want to do cuts? Do you want to say, hey, these particular sports or this particular activity is very full and we don't want homeschoolers? Maybe you could have the coaches get involved or have everyone come in individually, present it to the board, and you guys can think about it. So look, we're all paying into a public education system. We really should be all entitled to use it, whether it's completely or partially. Thank you.
Thank you. And please know the board does appreciate your comments. We generally don't have a back and forth with community members, but we do hear your comments. We usually allow time for the superintendent if he has any comments to respond back, but board members generally don't. But please know that doesn't mean we don't appreciate your comments this evening.
I just want one point of clarification. I appreciate you coming and what you had to say. The homeschool change several years ago was statewide. Prior to that change, it was a blanket across the state. They could not participate. Then the change came in, I don't remember exactly when, somewhere between 5 and 10 years, that said it was up to local boards whether or not they could participate. So it's not what, I don't ever recall band members, homeschool band members participating here. So that's how the change came into place. Okay, so just as a point of clarification. Okay.
Thank you again. So the time is now 7:51 p.m. Unless there's anyone else in the public who'd like to speak. Not hearing any, I'd like to close the meeting to the public at 7:51. There is no need for an executive session.
You want one? You don't need one?
I'm sorry.
You don't need one.
Right. No need for an executive session. So I'd like to ask for a motion for an adjournment. Mr. Bogosian, seconded by Mrs. Cole. And I believe that's a wrap.
Thank you. Thank you.